Happy New Year, North Central Washington. Happy New Year, Wenatchee Valley. We are back at it after the long three-day weekend. This is Wake Up Wenatchee Valley, second day of January 2018. I'm Dan Kuntz, and thanks for starting off your new year and your new day and your new week with us here on the NCW Live channel. If you notice to my immediate left, the chair is not there because Steve Hare is not here. Our news director normally joins me for the first half of the program. Steve's a little under the weather. Steve, I know you're watching, so get better soon. And just because you didn't come into work today, Steve, doesn't mean you still don't owe me the $5 from the football game. If you were here on Friday, Steve and I bet on the Cotton Bowl, the Cotton Bowl Classic. I bet on Ohio State, and he bet on Southern Cal. And of course, Ohio State handled the Trojans without any problems at all. So Steve owes me $5, and wouldn't you know it, now he's not in. He'll be fine. He'll be better soon. We hope so anyway. I hope you had a great three-day weekend. We have a fairly busy show for you today to get your new year started off right. In the second half of this program, we're going to have Steve Hare's long interview with Steve Wright, the general manager of the Chelan County PUD. Steve Hare and Steve Wright sat down in the conference room where they meet and had a nice conversation about all kinds of things Chelan County PUD oriented for the upcoming year. A lot of changes coming to the Chelan County PUD. We'll air that interview in its entirety in the second half of the show. We'll wrap up the weekend that was in sports. We have a college football national championship set up ready to go now. It is an all-SEC matchup. The Georgia Bulldogs did their part. Alabama had no problems with Clemson. We'll talk about that. Great weekend for the Wenatchee Wild. They had a very good weekend. We'd like to hear that. They took care of Penticton in a couple of games over the weekend. We'll have that with sports. We have Today in History. We have the Obscure Holiday. We have birthdays. And since Steve is a little under the weather, I'll be handling what little news we'll be able to send your way on this Tuesday at the second day of January 2018. Got to get used to saying that. Back in the days when we used to write checks, I don't write checks anymore. I think I write like 4 checks a year. Everything else is just, direct deposit or whatever. I'd always, that first few weeks of the new year, you'd always write the wrong year down. I don't have to worry about that anymore. I don't write any checks, but it is 2018. Just a heads up on that. All right, 2.5 minutes after the hour. Let's start out where we always begin. Let's take you around North Central Washington with our Valley View cameras. We only have 3 cameras up and running today. The 4th camera that we were going to bring up is, I guess, feeling about as good as Steve is this morning. Let's start out with Wenatchee Valley proper, the famous cross camera. That's zoomed in a little bit and pointed down a little bit. We can zoom them in and out and move them around, as I mentioned before, but there is your Tuesday morning commute here for the Wenatchee Valley. Most people, of course, are heading back to work today. There's still no school, though. The Wenatchee and Eastmont school districts, they don't get back at it again until Wednesday. They have one more day of Christmas break before they get out of it. The main arterials, the main roads are just fine. It's when you get on those side streets, so you're going to have that compact snow and ice. It snowed and spittled and rained and freezing rain just enough over the holiday weekend to make a lot of the area roadways, especially in the residential areas and the lesser traveled roads, very, very slippery indeed. Although the sanding trucks have been out to take care of some of that stuff, you're going to have to take it a little easy on your Tuesday morning commute. So there's the Wenatchee Valley proper. These cameras, courtesy of Localtel's Sky-Fi high-speed wireless internet. Camera number 2. And I think all of these are going to be just concentrating on the valley proper. That, of course, is Old Station. You see that camera itself is the Omi Garden camera, way out on a little rock outcropping that overlooks Highway 97A. So you can see the Stimmill Complex and how bright it is when you have that snow on the ground and you have the low clouds. Things look brighter than they actually are. We're still over half an hour away from sunrise. It just looks brighter because of all the light pollution, which we now deal with as we live in a growing and thriving valley, and the light pollution isn't going to go away. That's the way it is. Finally, camera number 3, and again, we only have 3 cameras for you this morning. That's going to take us to downtown Wenatchee, the roof of the Cascadian pointing to the north. So you can see the Doneen building, the Wenatchee Savings and Loan building in downtown Wenatchee on this second day of January. Although it feels like a Monday, doesn't it? I think having New Year's Day on a Monday is not such a bad thing, because you got New Year's Eve on Sunday night, and then Monday, normally everybody go back to work, but Monday's a holiday, and so everybody got to relax for one more day and enjoy a 3-day weekend, back-to-back 3-day weekends. So there you go. Good morning. It's good to have you on board here on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley as we get going for another year of television fun. It's January and we live in North Central Washington, so your weather forecast is typical January North Central Washington weather, kind of just there. Kind of boring is the best way to put it. Cool temperatures, low clouds, going to persist, a couple of spittles of snow, maybe in the back half of the week. Outside of that, just kind of cloudy and cool. Be glad you don't live in like Minneapolis or Fargo. They're just freezing there. Chicago's high temperature the other day was 1 degree, 1. So be happy about that. We don't have any kind of major cold snap coming our way. Just kind of cloudy. Here's your forecast. It looks like this. High of about 33 today. And you see that very little sunshine, in fact, none at all during the work week. Tonight, just a slight chance of snow. Just it's so slight we didn't even put the icon up there. 25 for the overnight low. Wednesday, cloudy, high of about 33. Again, no real snow in the forecast. Wednesday night, cloudy 26, cloudy 35. Control Alt Delete, rinse and repeat. Mostly cloudy Thursday night, slight chance of some rain and snow. The best chance of any measurable precipitation, easy for me to say, Friday and Friday night. Although it's going to be cloudy, there's a slight chance of rain or freezing rain. No snow on Friday, and a high of about 34. But Friday night could get a little bit of snow mixed with freezing rain and an overnight low of about 30 on Friday night. And then we see a little bit of sunshine on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday with partly sunny skies. High temperatures and overnight lows very consistent. There's no air quality alert. There's no air inversion going on out there. It's just kind of what it is. Again, you get used to it this time of year. If you're looking for the sunshine, as usual, you got to go up. Up above the cloud layer here. So we have low clouds and fog, but it's not really low clouds and not really low fog. It's just going to be kind of January weather for the Wenatchee Valley. And at 7 minutes after the hour, your pass report from the Department of Transportation. Things are great right now. There's no advisories, no restrictions on any of the major mountain passes, and it's going to stay that way for most of the day today. No advisories, no restrictions on Snoqualmie Pass. Roadways bare and dry. Some ice in places. Little windy, so if you're driving a high-profile rig, you might get buffeted around a little bit, but Snoqualmie Pass looks fine. Stevens, you got no problems at all. Roadways bare and wet. You got some frost and ice in places on Stevens Pass, overcast skies, some poor visibility at times. No advisories, no restrictions on Stevens Pass. Wuwv Pass camera is not currently working. Somebody's got to go up there and put a quarter into it, I think. But I'll tell you right now, on Wuwv Pass, no advisories, no restrictions. Roadways bare and wet. Some broken clouds. So no advisories, no restrictions on any of the major mountain passes. It's going to be dry through Thursday. So if you're heading into the Cascades, you're not going to have any problems at all as far as precipitation today, tonight, Wednesday night until we get into Thursday. And even Thursday is not much, less than a half an inch of snow expected on Thursday. Next real measurable snow that might make the roads a little dicey is Friday and Friday night. But just like the Wenatchee Valley proper, the Cascades are going to enter into a pretty quiet period of precipitation. Not going to really get any at all, so the roadways are fine. If anything, just poor visibility. You got fogs and clouds that you have to drive through on your way up to the summit of the Big Three. 8 minutes after the hour, as I mentioned before, Steve Hare is a little under the weather. Hopefully he'll be back tomorrow. He's an important cog in this television machine, so I'll be handling the news when we come back. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley, live here from Studio 3 in downtown Wenatchee on the NCW Life Channel.
Robert Duff. Current and previous occupation is architect, engineer, and lawyer. Grew up here in Washington, born in Moses Lake. When I first came to CVCH, was looking for a place to get some dental work done. I was really impressed with the people at the counter. I mean, they were just on top of it. It only took her like 15 minutes to do the job. I didn't feel anything. The technology is so great, you don't even realize you're at the dentist. These people are so professional. I would have any one of these people in my home for dinner. These people are family.
And now it's time for your local news update with Steve Hare.
10 minutes after the hour on this Tuesday, January 2nd, I am Dan Coons filling in for the ailing Steve Hare. Hopefully he'll be back tomorrow. In the news this morning, Douglas County Sheriff Harvey Jesdahl says a wanted Bridgeport man is being returned from Los Angeles following his arrest there last week. Officers flew to LA recently to pick up 25-year-old Armando Morales Cervantes of Bridgeport from the Los Angeles County Jail. He was flown back and booked at the Okanagan County Jail without any incident. Morales Cervantes had been arrested at the Bridgeport School on October 19th for making threats to kill and for bringing a firearm onto school grounds. He had been released and his subsequent arrest warrant had been issued. Morales Cervantes had been on the lam for about 4 months before being picked up by LAPD officers, and now he is back in the Northwest at the Okanagan County Jail. A GoFundMe account has been set up for a Wenatchee family that has been displaced when their home on River Park Avenue in Wenatchee caught fire on Friday morning. Chelan County Fire District No. 1 responded to the smoking single-family dwelling at 301 River Park Avenue down near the river. Officials say all the residents were out of the house at the time of the fire. The family was reportedly living in a local motel, but friends say they were financially struggling to get by. Well, 2018 will be a year of change for the Chelan County PUD as the district embarks on a plan to relocate some of its facilities. General Manager Steve Wright says the plan for developing the new facilities is a work in progress. Not long ago, he sat down with our very own NCW Life News Director Steve Hare, and here he is talking about the changes coming your way.
When looking at our facilities, we said, what will be the least cost strategy over the long run? Brought in some folks from the outside who've helped us work through that. And we've now presented to our board and said, in some cases, refurbishment of buildings will make the most sense. In some cases, replacement of buildings will make the most sense, both in terms of cost and in terms of customer service. So what do I mean by customer service? So for example, 70% of our truck rolls from basically either this facility or the one up on Holly Street go north. And if you're going to be crossing the Wenatchee River Bridge on a regular basis for 70% of your truck rolls, and particularly in the likelihood that we're going to have increasing traffic up there, you want to think about, is that the best place for us to be located? We also have been trying to think through, so if a customer walks into this building, are they getting a customer-friendly experience? And candidly, if you come in and you want service, you have to go to 3 or 4 different places here, and it's hard to find them in order to be able to get service. So can we improve that customer experience at the same time by reducing our costs over the long run? We believe the answer to that is yes, but when you do this kind of analysis, you have a lot of assumptions in it. So we're now in the process of testing the assumptions. What would it cost for us to buy land if we were going to move? What would it cost for us to build buildings, can do RFPs and check and see how things are going? We got the first test of that yesterday. We have committed that we would build a new storage building down at Rock Island. We're storing a lot of stuff out in the elements, which generally doesn't tend to lead to longer life. And we estimated the cost of that, and the cost came in about $800,000 lower than what we estimated. So we feel like we're going to take these steps incrementally. We'll learn as we go, check and see what was our assumption, can we get it for that price or lower? If we can, then we likely would proceed. If we can't, then we stop and re-regroup.
2018 will also include the modernization of the hydroelectric facilities at both Rock Island and Rocky Reach dams. And now that the holidays are over, in partnership with Chelan County Public Works, the Wenatchee Boy Scout Troop No. 7 is taking care of helping you dispose your Christmas tree this year. Coming up on Saturday, January 6th, you can drop off your Christmas tree at the Chelan County Shop in Wenatchee. That's located at 210 Easy Street between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. Scouts will be collecting the trees for recycling. A $5 donation is suggested, and donations will go to Troop 7 to help support their programs. Trees can also be dropped off for recycling at the Dryden Transfer Station. That's at 9073 Highway 2, or at the Antioch Brush Yard, which is located off Highway 97A behind the Fire Interpretive Center. When dropping off your tree, of course, make sure all the decorations are off of it, no tinsel or anything like that. And for more information, you can call Chelan County Public Works at 667-6341. It is 14 minutes after the hour here on this Tuesday, and a friendly reminder for you to get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. You can get a hold of us any number of ways. You can get a hold of us via our Facebook page. You can get a hold of us via our email address. You can pick up the telephone and call us. Today we were going to unveil the winner of our big Christmas lights contest, but the keeper of that file is Steve, so I don't know who won. So I can't announce the winner today. We'll do it tomorrow. I promise you on that. In any event, go to our Facebook page and like it. You can private message us on our Facebook page. You can pick up the telephone and give us a call. If you go to our website, ncwlife.com, you can click on the Contact Us icon, and you'll be contacting us. Any number of ways to do it. You can also follow us, of course, on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you our viewers. It is 15 minutes after the hour. A whole bunch of sports. Buckle your seatbelt. We'll fill you in on everything you may have missed over the weekend. When we come back, you're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley live here from Studio 7 in downtown Wenatchee on the NCW Life channel.
Hi, I'm Blair from Works, your workout prescription. Have you ever started an exercise program and then struggled to keep it going? So what if I told you that with this MyZone device, I could increase your chances of self-motivated exercise adherence by over 200%. Combine that with an exercise prescription specifically for your level of readiness, we'll increase it even more. And that's our new member success system. It's $99. It's exclusively at Works. It includes your MyZone belt. Works. YourWorkoutRx.com.
I'm Grant Olson, and you're watching the NCW Life channel.
I'm Eric Grandstrom with NCW Life Sports.
I'm NCW Life News Director Steve Hare.
Catch us on Local Tel Channel 12.
You can watch us on Charter Channel 19 or stream us live on ncwlife.com.
Follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook.
Where we cover the local high schools, the Wenatchee Wild, and the pro teams out of Seattle.
On Saturday, we have a 90% chance of rain.
Catch it all right here on the NCW Life channel.
16 minutes after the hour on this Tuesday, January 2nd, 2018. I am Dan Kuntz. Overcast, 24 degrees outside of our studios. Just about 33 or 34 with cloudy skies throughout the rest of today and really for the rest of the week. Let's do sports. The college football playoff semifinals yesterday. The Rose Bowl was a dandy. Sugar Bowl, not so much. It began with a great double overtime game in the Rose Bowl after blocking a field goal attempt by Oklahoma in the second overtime. Georgia's Sonny Michel scored on a 27-yard run to give the Bulldogs a 54-48 win. Georgia overcame a 31-17 halftime deficit to force the game into overtime. The two teams, the Sooners and the Bulldogs, combined for 1,058 yards of offense. Well, the Sugar Bowl, Alabama held defending national champion Clemson to just 2 field goals and 2 turnovers, including a pick 6. And Alabama won 24-6 to advance to face Georgia in the title game next Monday in Atlanta. Of course, earlier in the weekend, Washington ended their season on a losing note. They lost in the Fiesta Bowl to Penn State 35-28 despite a huge comeback attempt. They were trailing at one point 28-7 in the second quarter. Pac-12, just 1 of 7 in the bowl games. Utah, the only conference team with a victory, and they won the Heart of Dallas Bowl over West Virginia. All the other teams lost. Speaking of losing, Seahawks completed a disappointing season Sunday with a 26-24 loss to Arizona at CenturyLink Field. Blair Walsh missed a 48-yard field goal with 37 seconds remaining. Could have gave Seattle the comeback win. Seattle trailed 20-7 at the half. They managed just 24 net yards of offense in the first 2 frames. The Hawks were dismal offensively, converted just 1 of 12 on third down. Seattle also suffered from untimely and, quite frankly, dumb penalties. They were whistled 8 times for 100 yards. Coach Pete Carroll says it's a tough pill to swallow to miss the playoffs for the first time since 2011.
And I think this game today was almost a microcosm of this season. The slow starts, getting in our own way, making it hard on us at times when we really, it wasn't about the opponent, it was about us. There's a lot of stuff that kind of showed up again today. And us roaring back in the second half and coming back, well, that doesn't surprise anybody. We know we can do that. And not that it still isn't exemplary to do stuff like that, but it took that today, and our guys rallied and we came roaring back and gave ourselves a chance to win the football game all the way to the last moment, and that's not surprising. It's disappointing, though, that we weren't able to change kind of the narrative of the way the games went, and so we looked terrible in the first half today, and then we came roaring back, and I mean, it didn't even look like the same team.
Seahawks did lead the league in one category, penalties. Seahawks were penalized a league worst 183 times for 1,342 yards. Ugh. Russell Wilson finished Sunday's game with 221 yards. He connected for a couple of touchdown passes to Doug Baldwin. He says he can't help but feel a little disappointed considering all the work that they put in and have the season come to an end.
Obviously, it's disappointing. Personally, I just hate losing. I know there's a lot of guys in that locker room that do too as well, and it's disappointing. We put so much work in. I think about this off season. I think about all the work that guys put in together, all the straining, all the belief, all the early mornings and everything in the off season. Then you come back together and you're looking forward to something great, and OTAs and all that. Then you go away for a little bit in the summertime. You come back for training camp, and a lot of the blood, sweat, and tears go into training camp, and you do everything you can, and then you begin the season with very, very high hopes and everything else, and you battle. And you know, some of our great players went down and everything else, and they were still great leaders. And then you have guys step up into certain roles and play great.
If it makes you feel any better, as it turns out, even if the Seahawks won, they would not have made the playoffs anyway, because Atlanta beat Carolina 22-10 to earn the final NFC playoff spot. Seattle finishes the season 9-7 and second in the NFC West. So there you go. The Rams, they rested almost all of their starters, and because of that, they lost to San Francisco 34-13. How does the postseason tournament look for the National Football League? There are your final standings on the air, and here's what it looks like. Philadelphia and Minnesota, they are the number 1 and number 2 seeds in the NFC. They'll get a bye this weekend. Atlanta will travel to LA to take on the Rams Saturday, 5:15 on NBC. Carolina is the number 5 seed. They will travel to number 4 New Orleans Sunday, 1:40. That'll be on Fox. On the AFC side, New England and Pittsburgh, they're number 1 and 2 respectively. They get byes. Tennessee, the number 5 seed, travels to number 4 Kansas City Saturday, 1:25 on ESPN. Number 6 Buffalo, the Bills are in. They go to number 3 Jacksonville Sunday morning at 10:05 on CBS. Well, the Wenatchee Wild extended their winning streak to 4 games in a row with a 2-game sweep of Penticton at the Town Toyota Center over the weekend. On Friday, Wenatchee fell behind early but got the equalizer by A.J. Vanderbeck midway through the period to go to the break tied at 1. Vanderbeck scored 3 minutes and 25 seconds into the second period and outscored the V's 4-1 to take a commanding 5-2 lead heading into the third, and they went on for the 6-3 victory. On Saturday, Vanderbeck got the scoring going in the second, only to have Penticton tie it. Heading into the second break, the Wild's Nathan Ionomi scored 4 minutes and 55 seconds into the third to give Wenatchee a 2-1 lead, and Lucas Sauter scored on an empty netter in the final minutes to give the Wild a 3-1 win. Arch Ecker has Saturday's call on the Wenatchee Wild Hockey Network.
Weatherby throws it into the lane for Sauter. Sauter drop pass Vanderbeck, shot, save, rebound, shot, score! Then got boxed off the play, and there's a long stretch pass. Sets up a breakaway for Sillinger. He's in, he dangles, he shoots, and he scores. Penticton coughs it up. Touch pass from Morton down low to Iannone. He shoots, he scores! Ward backhand dish across, and here's a 3-on-1 break. Here's Sillinger back across, and it hopped over the blade. It's iconic over on the far wing. The net empty at the other end of the ice, and here come the Wild, the empty net, and finishing it off. Oh my God, Sauter just got railed into the end boards, and Vanderbeck takes the guy to the woodshed. Absolutely horrendous. And that brings us to the final buzzer, as the Wenatchee Wild complete the sweep. Back-to-back weekend sweeps, one before the holiday break and one coming out of the holiday break.
You saw the one scuffle there. There were other scuffles. In fact, in the last 54 seconds of play on Saturday night, there were multiple fights and 11 penalties handed out. Anyway, the Wild will skate at trail tomorrow as they continue to chase the Vernon Vipers. In the BCHL's Interior Division, they trail Vernon by 4 points as the new year began. We get right back into high school sports tonight here on the NCW Live channel. It's a non-league basketball doubleheader. Eastmont will host North Central. The girls tip it up at 5:45. The boys to follow at 7:30. Eric Granstrom and Grant Olson will be there for the play-by-play. Hockey night Thursday will feature the Wild's game with Penticton from last Friday. Then on Friday, it's back to the Big Nine for Eastmont as they host Moses Lake. Will take to the air at 5:30. Speaking of prep sports, although school isn't back until tomorrow, they still got sports to do. The Eastmont girls will host Sunnyside in bowling this afternoon at 2 at Eastmont Lanes. And besides the Eastmont Twin Bill tonight, Manson will host Liberty Bell in a girls-boys doubleheader at Manson. And that is sports. At just about 25 minutes after the hour on this Tuesday, although it feels like a Monday, January 2nd, 2018, I am Dan Kuntz, and you're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley, the first show of the new year. And it's time for the obscure holiday of the day today. The perfect holiday if your New Year's resolution, how do I put this right correctly, is to lose weight, because before you do it, make one more trip to the buffet. Today is National Buffet Day, always celebrated on January 2nd. You remember here in town we had, what was it, Roy's Chuck Wagon. You remember Roy's Chuck Wagon? At the mall, it was about where Applebee's is now. That was a rare treat to go to Roy's. And of course we had the Royal Fork for quite some time. And there's other buffets around town, of course. Buffets are great. You can put whatever you want on your plate, and if you don't like it, you don't have to put it on your plate. So today is the day to get together with your friends and have a buffet. That picture that you see right there is the buffet that we have every day here at the NCW Life channel. They lay out a big spread there in the commissary. I'm lying. And of course, when we think about buffets, I think anyway of Las Vegas. Yeah, the home of the buffet. I went to a buffet once in Las Vegas. We ate for 4.5 hours. Oh, that was a good meal. National Buffet Day today. Overindulge. What the heck, right? Still the holidays. 26 minutes after the hour today in history. We got 3 items to pass along to you today for the second day of January. Whenever a new state enters the union, we say hello. And this morning we say hello to Georgia. Georgia is 230 years old today. There's the state flag of Georgia. Georgia became the 4th state to ratify the United States Constitution and join the Union on this date in 1788. Of course, Georgia is the Peach State. We all know that. The great state of Georgia. The state song, here's a big surprise, Georgia on My Mind. The state song, it's been done by everybody, but of course the Ray Charles version tops all of them. And some fun facts about Georgia. Georgia is the largest state east of the Mississippi. Did you know that? It's true. And in 1945, Georgia became the first state in the Union to lower the legal voting age from 21 to 18. It was right after the end of World War II, and they thought, this is silly. Guys can get drafted and sent off to war at the age of 18, but they can't vote until they're 21. Makes no sense to us. Georgia became the first state to lower the legal voting age down to 18, and they did that in 1945. Kudos to them. Happy 230th birthday, the great state of Georgia. You remember the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit? You remember that? I do. It was on this date, January 2nd, 1974, 44 years ago today, President Richard M. Nixon signed the bill lowering the maximum U.S. speed limit to 55 miles an hour. This was during the whole OPEC oil crisis when basically the Middle Eastern countries just shut off the spigot and said you're on your own. So they figured out if you drive 55, you're going to save quite a bit of gasoline, and it kind of sort of worked. But for 13 years, for you kids out there, for 13 years in this country, the speed limit was 55 miles an hour. Can you imagine that today? You can't even think about it today. When next time you're out on I-90 driving from George to Spokane or any place where you have a long stretch of interstate highway and the speed limit is 70, but you're really going 75, go back down to 55 for about a mile and see how that goes over with you. Yeah, it made everybody's trip longer. The 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, 1974. In 1987, they said, nah, let's go back to the way it was, and I'm glad they did. I'll never forget this day. Today is the 40th anniversary. It was on this day 40 years ago today that the Washington Huskies defeated the Michigan Wolverines 27-20 in the 64th edition of the Rose Bowl. It announced to everybody that Don James has got a pretty good program, and the Huskies were reborn with that tremendous Rose Bowl victory on Monday, January 2nd, 1978. I remember watching it very, very well, and now it's on YouTube. A little trip down memory lane. I watched it the other day. The Huskies, huge upset over Michigan in the Rose Bowl on this date 40 years ago. And finally, at 29 minutes after the hour, we got birthdays to pass along to you. One of my favorite politicians, Barry Goldwater. Barry Goldwater was born in the state in 1909, passed away at the age of 89 in 1998. He, of course, represented Arizona as a United States Senator for many, many, many years. Was the 1964 Republican nominee for president, got just crushed by Lyndon Johnson. But Barry Goldwater was a man who held to his beliefs all the way to the end and was not very happy with the direction that the Republican Party was going towards the end of his life. He had a lot of civil libertarian part of him that kind of clashed with the Republican Party. He was always his own man. He was also one of the most likable guys on Capitol Hill. Almost every senator thought Barry Goldwater was just the bee's knees. He was a great guy. Barry Goldwater was born in the state in 1909. And two of my favorite baseball players celebrate the exact same birthday on the exact same day. They're contemporaries. Coney, David Cone, 5 times a world champion, including 4 times with the New York Yankees. Of course, in 1999, he pitched a perfect game against the Montreal Expos. The great David Cone is 55 years old today, and I get to see Coney during the baseball season because he's a broadcaster now on the Yankee Broadcasting Network. And guess who else is also 55? perhaps future Hall of Famer Edgar Martinez. Edgar Martinez, 18 years as a Seattle Mariner, the only designated hitter ever to win a batting title. In 1995, he batted .356. We all know what happened in 1995. Of course, on August 12th of last year, they retired. Edgar's number 11 was retired by the Seattle Mariners. Edgar Martinez, the great Edgar Martinez, is 55 years old today. Will he make it to the Hall of Fame? We don't know. They're not going to announce the Hall of Fame vote totals until later on this month. I want to say it's January 23rd or January 24th, something along that. Edgar Martinez is fighting some pretty serious headwinds because there's a lot of baseball writers out there, and it's the Baseball Writers Association of America who determined who gets into the Hall of Fame. A lot of baseball writers are not voting for Edgar because they said he only played essentially half the game, which from a technical standpoint is true, I guess, but there are designated hitters in the Hall of Fame. Frank Thomas and Paul Molitor come to mind, but they also played in the field a great deal of their career, and Edgar didn't, for lack of a better term. He just simply didn't. He was a designated hitter. That's what's holding him back. But does Edgar Martinez belong in the Hall of Fame? I think so. We'll find out later on this month whether he makes it in this year or not. Whew. 31 minutes after the hour on the second day of January 2018. Man, the year is just flying by, isn't it? The year just taking right off. We're going to take a quick little break. When we come back, everyone is entitled to Mike Magnotti's opinion. And then Steve Hare's lengthy interview with Steve Wright, the general manager of the Chelan County Public Utility District. That's all coming up on this Tuesday edition of Wake Up Wenatchee Valley, live from Studio 9 in downtown Wenatchee on the NCW Live channel.
Alone, it can be hard to reach our dreams. It can feel like you aren't welcome anywhere. When no one's there to clap, taking on the world by yourself. But when we come together, when we lend a helping hand, when we set the stage, when you support causes you care about in your community, lives are changed. You make a difference in someone's life when you give. Imagine the impact if everyone in our community gave 10%. 10% makes a difference.
In our experience, some people are just cut out for charter college and for success in a new career. These charter types are hard workers. Charter types go above and beyond. And charter types are responsible. If you're ready to get to work making a better future for yourself, you're just our type. Charter College. We work to get you to work.
Hi, I'm Cordell Schroeder, owner of East Wenatchee Mobile Storage.
If you're thinking about making a move anytime soon, check out the East Wenatchee Mini Storage brand new mobile storage service. They drop it off at your location, you pack it, and they pick it up and store it in their protected warehouse at East Wenatchee for as long as you need. When you're ready, they'll drop it off at your new home or office. East Wenatchee Mini Storage is excited to offer this brand new service to our region.
Call 509-884-8643 or find us on the web at ewministorage.com.
Bay Equity Home Loans in Wenatchee, serving all of North Central Washington. We make it our priority to learn all about your financial needs. Whether you're buying your first home, refinancing, or want a reverse mortgage, our mortgage professionals are ready to guide you through the loan process. We have a wide variety of loan products to fit your family's needs. Call Bay Equity Home Loans of Wenatchee today for your pre-approval. 509-888-0466.
Hey, this is Mike Mad Dog Magnotti, and everybody's entitled to my opinion. Now, you ever think about this? You know, you have a wife or a girlfriend, and sometimes you don't treat her very nice. You figure, hey, this is my private life. It's nobody's business if I'm a jerk now and then. Besides, you think the wife, the girlfriend, they're sometimes less than pleasant themselves, so it's her fault if you end up getting mad at her and if you call her names, something like that, right? Well, let me tell you something. There's a good chance that someone's therapist knows all about you. I mean, you never know. If you ask any mental health professional, they'll be able to tell you that they have a client or two whose significant other has no idea that they've sought therapy. And I tell you, that's something maybe you should think about. This is Mike Mad Dog Magnotti, and that's my opinion.
Hey folks, Carrie from Blueberry Hills. A chill is in the air and it's a perfect time for some old-fashioned comfort food like our amazing Eggs Benedict, chicken fried steak, French dips, soups made from scratch, or fruit pies fresh from the oven. The crowds might be gone, but we're still here for you folks. So bring an appetite and a friend to Blueberry Hills in Manson, where you pick, you sit, you eat, and you visit. Open Wednesday through Sunday from 8 to 3. wildaboutberries.com.
If you're stuck trying to find the perfect beer for you, look no further than Badger Mountain Brewing. We specialize in creating tantalizing craft beers that will soothe any picky taste buds and will satisfy your cravings. Check out everything from our amazing Honey Blonde that will appease even the most finicky taster, or a delicious frothy stout for dark beer lovers. Experience them all at Badger Mountain Brewing.
Life is about memories and lasting impressions. With Boswell's expansive two-story showroom of quality home furnishings, you'll find everything you need to create a home to remember. Need assistance? From fabric options and complimentary design service to complete home makeovers, Glenn, Buffy, and Teresa are there to guide you. Come into Boswell's and find inspiration and comfort for every room in your home. Boswell's on Easy Street. It's closer than you think.
Hi, this is Carl.
And Kathy from East Wenatchee Grocery Outlet. We are excited to be a part of this wonderful community and look forward to meeting you at East Wenatchee Grocery Outlet.
Our store is filled with name brand products at bargain prices at 40 to 60% savings. We have a large selection of natural, organic, and specialty foods.
Stop by and meet Carl, the wine guy, on Wednesday.
East Wenatchee Grocery Outlet, where you can win what you saved. Stop by soon.
And we're back at 37 minutes after the hour here on this Tuesday edition of Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. Overcast and 25 degrees, high today of about 33, and that's pretty much the forecast all this week. Overcast conditions, highs in the lower 30s, very little precipitation. Just a couple of weeks ago, News Director Steve Hare sat down with the General Manager of the Chelan County Public Utility District, Steve Wright. We sat down in the boardroom for a wide-ranging interview talking all things Chelan County PUD. We've been looking for the right opportunity to air that interview in its entirety. That day happens to be today. Here's that interview.
As part of our effort to keep you informed on NCW Live channel, we'd like to bring into focus today the Chelan County PUD and its General Manager Steve Wright, who joins me right now in a casual conversation about the affairs of the PUD and changes that are coming in the future, and also maintaining some of the services and programs that have benefited this area in Chelan County. First of all, Steve, thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. I want to say it's great, Steve, to see you at NCW Life. I know you've got decades of experience here in following news in this area and following the PUD, so it's great to be with you. And it's really great to have NCW Life doing this kind of work because it helps us in terms of promoting the transparency that we want to have. We want customer owners to understand what we're doing here, and this is a benefit for us. So thanks for coming.
I think over the past several years we've seen the steps that the PUD has been taking to increase transparency and to enhance the information dissemination.
Well, we believe very much in this theme of customer owners, that the customers are the owners of the system, and as owners, if we're going to follow what they want, we need to understand what they want. So there's a dialogue that needs to happen, and this kind of conversation helps us with that dialogue.
Well, we're talking to you right now after the Board of Commissioners yesterday adopted the 2018 spending plan, budgets going forward, and I wanted for you to have an opportunity to talk to our viewers about some of the highlights of that budget and how your long-term strategy plays out in terms of how you're going to be providing stewardship for the public funds.
Well, adoption of budgets is a watershed moment for us. We begin preparing our budget in February, and we come to a conclusion in December. So a lot of thought goes into it. What we're doing is we start with our strategic plan, and hopefully many folks by now have heard we have three big priorities in our strategic plan: investing in assets and people, reducing debt, and initiating a public power benefit program. It was built around the vision in 2014, 2015 when the plan was being put together, that we were likely to have many, many good years of great financial returns. The wholesale market looked really good. Our cost structure with hydropower looks very good in a high-priced wholesale market. And so we were thinking about how we would invest all of that potential benefit. The one thing that has changed pretty dramatically from the time of the strategic plan is that the wholesale market has come down significantly. So we've seen a lot of natural gas coming into the market, which is a direct competitor of ours as a result of fracking and other opportunities to be able to produce more domestic natural gas at lower cost, and a lot of solar and wind, particularly in the West, which is another competitor of ours.
So the alternate sources of energy then are affecting that surplus power that you normally sell on the open market.
Yeah, no question about it. So we were selling at, as was anybody in the West, roughly about $50 a megawatt hour back in 2013, and the prices today are somewhere between 25 to 30. So it's pretty much a halving of the cost, of the revenue that we would see from those sales.
What percentage or what slice of the pie does that take out of your budget?
So out of our budget, okay, so you got me on that one.
Sorry about that.
I'm gonna have to think a little bit more about just how to calculate that number, but
it's obviously a large portion.
It's a big portion, right? Yeah. So it's particularly a big portion because it's our retail sales are subsidized by our wholesale sales. So when we reduce the wholesale revenue number, that then translates into a problem for us because we're using that revenue to keep our retail rates down. So in addition to the fact that we've had a reduction in the wholesale market, we also, as we have worked hard to understand the state of our assets, are coming to understand that they need more work than what we thought back in 2014, 2015. Larger amount of capital investment than we were anticipating. A good example was the one that we used at the board yesterday, where we have bridge cranes. So if you've been to Rocky Reach Dam and you've looked down at the turbines, there are these huge cranes which can move 500,000 pounds because turbines are big things. And they've been operating since the dam was complete in the early 1960s. So this is the first time we've taken them apart and actually seen what's going on inside of them. And we've discovered there are more cracks, more wear and tear, a few more things because we can understand stresses better today than we could back 50 years ago. A few more things that need work. So we're going to need to spend some time and some money, about $500,000, to try to work on fixing those up.
Sounds, though, that you will be doing this at a savings by doing it yourself rather than going out to contract on these things.
It's a combination of doing it ourselves and contracting, to be candid, because we have a lot more work. What we anticipate is doing about double the amount of work on the hydro units that we would do in a normal period. And we don't want to staff up for that double amount of work because then you would be overstaffed in the next period. So we're doing a combination of using our own crews and then working very much with contractors as well.
So the 2018 budget then is going to reflect some major capital improvements.
2018 will be the largest capital budget in recent memory. We go back to about 2000 in terms of looking at capital budgets, and certainly since the turn of the century, this is the largest capital budget by a large margin. That really does come out of the strategic plan, because remember in the strategic plan we said we're going to invest in assets and people, and the assets are the biggest component of that. And the hydro units are the biggest component of our asset base.
How is this going to affect your service on your long-term debt?
So number one, we set a goal to reduce our debt and try to get down to below 35% debt to equity ratio. So we were at above 70%, over $1 billion back in that early 2010 period. We expect next year to hit our 35% target. We will have reduced our debt by about half. We'll be just over about $500 million next year. So that's a pretty substantial achievement. We're now trying to look forward and say, where do we want to go in the future? And we're going to continue to do some more debt reduction, but probably not at the pace that we've been at. We will have achieved our target. which was based on what the bond rating agency thinks are necessary to be at the highest rating. We have one of the highest ratings of any consumer-owned utility in the country. We're in the top 5. So we want to be there, and then from that point, we use debt to manage both making sure that we're making investments for the long term, but also manage for rates.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, the PUD is also going through a process of evaluating your facilities, relocating of facilities such as the headquarters. How is all of this playing out within, let's say, next year's budget?
Well, our buildings and facilities are assets just like everything else. They're things that we have to manage for the long term. Candidly, we did not have a strategic facilities plan before about a year ago. So we spent a fair amount of time just going through and understanding what's the state of our buildings and then what makes the most sense for the long term. We keep living by the motto of best value for our customer owners for the longest period of time. So when looking at our facilities, we said, what will be the least cost strategy over the long run? Brought in some folks from the outside who've helped us work through that. And we've now presented to our board and said, in some cases, refurbishment of buildings will make the most sense. In some cases, replacement of buildings will make the most sense, both in terms of cost and in terms of customer service. So what do I mean by customer service? So for example, 70% of our truck rolls from basically either this facility or the one up on Holly Street go north. And if you're going to be crossing the Wenatchee River Bridge on a regular basis for 70% of your truck rolls, and particularly in the likelihood that we're going to have increasing traffic up there, you want to think about, is that the best place for us to be located? We also have been trying to think through, so if a customer walks into this building, are they getting a customer-friendly experience? And candidly, if you come in and you want service, you have to go to 3 or 4 different places here, and it's hard to find them in order to be able to get service. So can we improve that customer experience at the same time by reducing our costs over the long run? We believe the answer to that is yes, but when you do this kind of analysis, you have a lot of assumptions in it. So we're now in the process of testing the assumptions. What would it cost for us to buy land if we were going to move? What would it cost for us to build buildings, can do RFPs and check and see how things are going? We got the first test of that yesterday. We have committed that we would build a new storage building down at Rock Island. We're storing a lot of stuff out in the elements, which generally doesn't tend to lead to longer life. And we estimated the cost of that, and the cost came in about $800,000 lower than what we estimated. So we feel like we're going to take these steps incrementally. We'll learn as we go, check and see what was our assumption, can we get it for that price or lower? If we can, then we likely would proceed. If we can't, then we stop and re-regroup.
Interesting. PUD, if I can shift focus here a little bit, Steve, and again, we're talking with Steve Wright, General Manager of the Chelan County PUD. The PUD, like many organizations, is in a state of transition with the new technology, digitizing most of everything you do now. How is that affecting the PUD going forward?
It's one of our hardest challenges for a couple of reasons. One, it's a big change. It's a big change for the way we even make decisions. To become a data-driven organization where you actually have real data and you're not making decisions subjectively is a difficult change for everyone to make. But it's an exciting change too, because everyone can see it happening in their personal lives, the way the digital revolution is occurring. And there's every reason to believe it should be happening here at the PUD as well. Probably the biggest one, there are 2 big ones right now that we're really focused on. Number one is smart meters. Can we put meters on the side of your house that will allow us to know, even before you call us, that there's an outage at your house, and to be able to see the scope of that outage in order to be able to better understand what might be causing it, and to be able to get trucks rolling faster so that we can actually improve the restoration time for you and other customers. We believe, and there's plenty of evidence out there, that we will be able to do that. Close to half of the meters in this country are now smart meters, where you actually do get data immediately back into your control center. And you also reduce the fact that you don't have meter readers going from house to house. So that saves costs, which ultimately comes back to the benefit of ratepayers. It also means that we don't have meter readers walking in your yard. So a whole bunch of benefits come associated with that sort of digital transformation. Another one that we're very interested in being a leader in the hydropower industry is, can we put sensors inside of turbines to better understand what's going on inside and hopefully be able to do predictive maintenance rather than respond to a forced outage where something has gone wrong and now you're trying to fix it. Turbines are really hard to fix. Think for a moment, again, if you've walked into Rocky Reach, you've seen how big they are, and you know there's that crane up there that lifts 500,000 pounds. How difficult it would be to actually pull that turbine out to try to figure out what's going on and then to do all the work that needs to get done. If you can get in front of that and actually understand that there might be a problem occurring before it occurs and be able to do the simple fix rather than the very expensive fix later, it could improve our efficiency substantially. And this is the fascinating part. Can we improve the efficiency of the PUD through the digital transformation? So my instinct is yes, that we can. It's difficult as well, though, because you need really great people to do that. You need folks that really understand information technology. And so it's bringing the workforce around as well that can be able to take advantage of these substantial new technologies and understand, how could I apply that in an environment like a turbine, which is not an easy environment. You've got lots and lots of water moving very quickly through a turbine. It can do a lot of damage, these kind of things. Fascinating challenges for us.
You also have to overcome some, I guess, some public concerns, though, if you're going to pursue smart metering or advanced metering, if you will. There are concerns about public health issues or privacy issues as well. How do you overcome that?
Well, first of all, those are all legitimate issues to be debated. So the number one thing is understand them. Do as much as you can to understand what the public's concerns are and go collect the best possible data. We are fortunate to be served by trade associations and things like the Electric Power Research Institute. We have the ability to be able to go off and identify who the best and the brightest people are in the world that we can look to help us understand what the potential impacts are, what types of strategies we should employ to try to make sure that we protect people's health, that we protect people's privacy. All of that has gone into, this has been a process that has been intense for the last year, but actually has been going on at the PUD for more than 10 years to look at smart meters. We've been able to take advantage of all that in order to try to make the best possible decisions.
Fiber, that's, I guess, a big success story here at the PUD and the way that network has been expanded out to the county.
It's an amazing thing. So I'm an electric guy. I spent my whole career in the electric system, and I've had to learn a lot with respect to fiber. But number one thing you learn when you come here is that rural America is generally poorly served with respect to broadband services. And that is not true here in Chelan County. We have a premier system that competes with any urban area in the country in terms of the ubiquity of the service and the speed of the service. So it's 70% of the county now that has the availability of the service and has the availability of 1 gigabit service. That's pretty remarkable. It is for a county, rural counties generally work at a competitive disadvantage against it.
Winter weather has arrived in the Wenatchee Valley, and it's no fun to be stuck outside in the cold, and your dog or cat don't appreciate it either. Paws and Claws Veterinarian Hospital would like to remind you that your pet is susceptible to hypothermia and frostbite just like you. After going outside, wipe off their paws to prevent them from licking de-icer or antifreeze. Dr. Shauna Baez and her staff care about your pets. If your pet needs medical attention, call 888-PAWS or find them on 4th and Nile in East Wenatchee.
Lake Chelan mailboxes find solutions and the best price for all your shipping needs, including UPS, FedEx, and the U.S. Postal Service. We offer a variety of services including quality copies of all sizes, faxing, scanning, sending and receiving email, laminating, and notarizing. Enjoy browsing through our large selection of greeting cards. Lake Chelan Mailboxes supports our military, fire victims, and our community.
See us at the Plaza in Chelan for all your holiday needs.
In the 4.5 minutes we have left of this program, I am Dan Coos, by the way, and you're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley for this Tuesday, the second day of January 2018. Let's take one more look at your weather forecast. It's 25 degrees outside of our studios, overcast conditions, and it's going to be typical January weather pretty much this entire week, just kind of clouds and clouds and clouds and clouds. No real change at all. High today of about 33 degrees, a slight chance of snow tonight. 20% chance of snow, so we didn't even bother to put the snowflake up there. There's no reason to. Probably not going to happen. Lots of clouds, 25 for the overnight low. Wednesday, cloudy and 33. Thursday, cloudy, a little bit warmer. High of about 35 degrees. Overnight lows very steady as well. Next chance of any kind of measurable precipitation, probably Thursday night. Not much. Again, about a 20% chance of rain on Thursday night. Friday is our best chance of something that may actually stick to the ground. Could get a little freezing rain on Friday. About a 40% chance of freezing rain on Friday. Lots of clouds, high near 34. Friday night, that chance of freezing rain continues, but again, it's less than 50-50. And Friday night's overnight low of about 30. And then we're going to see a little bit of sunshine. By the time we get to Sunday and Monday, won't that feel good? But these temperatures are all very consistent. Nothing higher than 35 on Thursday and Saturday, and nothing lower than, say, 25 tonight. So cool temperatures, low clouds are going to persist over most of the Wenatchee Valley, really, for the foreseeable future, and that's just the way it is. It is January. If it makes you feel any better and you don't much care for snow, it's not going to snow really at all down here for as long as anybody can accurately predict the weather forecast into the future. And that's the same deal with the mountain passes. You got no problems at all in the Cascades. Things are looking just fine indeed. No advisories, no restrictions on I-90. Things are looking good. Roadways bare and dry, some ice in places. Still a little windy on the west side of I-90, so if you're driving a high-profile rig, especially if you have nothing in it, you're going to get moved around a little bit, but there are no advisories or restrictions on I-90. Roadways pretty much bare and dry. Stevens looks fine as well. You'll pass through some foggy patches on your way up to the summit of Stevens, but outside of that, no advisories, no restrictions. The roadway is bare and wet with some frost and ice in places on Stevens Pass. I believe the camera on Blewett is still inoperable, and that is in fact the case, but I will tell you what the conditions are in Blewett anyway. Nothing, no advisories, no restrictions. The roadway is bare and wet. There's some frost and ice in places and some broken clouds. And the forecast for the mountain passes calls for no measurable snow at all till maybe Friday night, and even then they're only talking about a couple of inches. So if you don't like driving in the snow most of this week, beginning really with yesterday and lasting all this week into Friday night, you're not going to have to deal with any kind of significant precipitation at all. If anything, just some poor visibility at times. Quick little reminder about the Christmas tree recycling. We want you to help out Wenatchee Boy Scout Troop number 7. They will help you dispose of your Christmas tree. They're doing this in partnership with Chelan County Public Works. So coming up this Saturday, you can drop off your Christmas tree at the Chelan County shop. That's up there in Old Station on Easy Street between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. Again, this is on Saturday. Scouts will be collecting the trees for recycling. They ask a $5 donation. Whatever you can afford would be just fine. If you can afford more than $5, that's even better. All of this, of course, will go to Troop 7 to help support their programs. Trees can also be dropped off for recycling at the Dryden Transfer Station. That's there on Highway 2, or at the Antioch Brush Yard, which is located off Highway 97A behind the Fire Interpretive Center. And of course, when dropping off your tree, don't forget to make sure it's free of tinsel and decorations. And if you have any questions at all, call our friends at Wenatchee at Chelan County Public Works at 667-6341. One more reminder before we cut you loose on this Tuesday. You know, the Buffalo Bills are in the NFL playoffs, which means the American professional sports team with the longest playoff drought now goes to the Seattle Mariners. The last time they made the playoffs was in 2001. They have the longest streak now of not making the playoffs in North American professional sports. Come on, baseball. I need you. Everybody have a great Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.